Hello, welcome. Last week's parasha, we learned, we had something from the tefillah, something from daily prayers in last week's parasha. Parasha is Veschanan. We discussed something that we say daily. Shema. We learned Shema. Last week's parasha, we learned the Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, V'Hafta. We have that we should love Hashem b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafsha, b'chol moedecha. We learned in this week's parasha, we have also something from the tefillah that we say. If you look at page 1118, in the sixth reading of the Torah portion, on the verse Yud Gimel, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Yeah, you see, we say V'haya im Shema. We say the second chapter, the second part of the Shema, 1118, and Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'haya im Shemaya tishmo mitzvotai asher anerchi mitzaves chol hayom. If you will listen to the mitzvot that I command you today, and you will serve God b'chol levavchem v'chol levavchem nafshechem, then Hashem promises us that I will give the rain in its right time. You know what it says when it means when it's right time?
It comes at night. So
it comes. You know what specifically which night is the best?
No.
It says it comes Friday night. You know why? Because everyone's anyways in their homes for Shabbat.
Yes, I thought so, yeah.
So it's not going to impede anyone.
Yeah.
It's not going to impede anyone when they're traveling. It says that's why it says that they'll give that you'll give everyone in the right time. And that you'll gather a lot of grain, and you'll gather all the grapes and the in every in everything, and you'll be able to, and you'll have enough food for your animals, and there Hashem says, be careful, don't stray from the mitzvahs. Don't stray from the mitzvahs, and I don't want that I'll get angry at the Bnei Yisrael, and then you will lose all those blessings which I promised you. Now it says if you look in Pasuk Yudchet, in the verse 18. There we learn the mitzvah of Ukshartem lo'ot hayedecha uktatofet benecha. They should bind it to your arm, and there should be a sign between your arms. And this is one of this portion of the Torah is also one of the portions that it's written in our tefillin. In a tefillin, you have 4 different portions. One from Veschanan, one from Echev, and 2 from Parshas Bo. And here you have we write that portion in the Shema. Why? In the Tefillin, because here it says that we should actually put the Tefillin on our hands, on our arms, and you should also be a sign between our eyes. So in the Tefillin we have the 4. If you think about it, the 4 in the Tefillin Shel Yad. Where is this? This is the Yad. This has it in one scroll. In the Tefillin Shel Rosh, in the head Tefillin, it comes out to be 4 different scrolls. So in each of these boxes, you have 4 different scrolls, which then is written each of these portions of the Torah, which speaks about putting on tefillin. So when you get your tefillin checked and all that, when you open this up, see there are 4 scrolls that is written in there, that portion of the Torah. V'hafta, Shema Yisrael, v'hafta, v'haya im Shema, which we were saying over here, and then Kadesh Lika B'chor, which is in Parshas Bo, and v'haya Kivyacha, also in Parshas Bo. So that is what's written. That is what the makeup, if you want to say, the DNA of the tefillin. Okay? Now, in this we continue and say is, we have to tie, but now continue. What's in Pasuk in verse Yutet, in verse 19? That we say is, what do we say in verse 19? So, Kamit, can you read that in Hebrew?
ולימדתם אותם ואת בניכם לדבר בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך.
Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean, Chaim? What is the mitzvah? What is the mitzvah that we learn? Go ahead, you can have it in English. In English, you have
19.
19, verse 19.
Oh, teaching them to the children. Passing on Torah knowledge to the children. Converse with your children in Hebrew, with their native lines. Teach the language using passages from Torah. Let them see that the Torah's teachings are your chief occupation, as above. Each of you should discuss them when you're sitting in your house and when you're walking on the way. Let them be your last concern when you lie down to sleep at night and your first concern when you wake in the morning.
Okay. So which means two aspects of what we're saying is. First of all, aspect of the mitzvah is the mitzvah of education. The mitzvah of making sure that our children are learning the Torah. We have to make sure that the Torah is passed on to the next generation. We can't just keep the Torah. We can't just keep the Torah for ourselves. Not ourselves. We can't just keep the Torah ourselves. We have a mitzvah to pass that on, to go and pass that on. And not only that,
everywhere basically. It's everywhere. At home, when you walk on the way, when you lie, when you get up.
So there,
every time, all the time.
Which we see is the education, the mitzvah of the education, is the aspect of we're saying is first of all we have the mitzvah we have the requirement to educate our children, but in addition we have there's two aspects of education. There's what we tell our children to do, and then there's also what they see us doing. There is the aspect of when we instruct them what they are supposed to be doing.
To set example.
But then the example that you see, that they see by you. And very much what the Torah is telling us, when we come to educate our children, we have to instruct them. But very much they should see by you that the Torah is so important by you, that's what you do b'shivtecha b'veitecha when you're at home, v'lechtecha v'derech when you're traveling on the road, u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha when you go to sleep, when you wake up. This should be something that's your prime occupation. It should be something you're fully involved in. Wherever you go, this should be Torah is not something that you do when you once a week when you come to have a class. It's not something that you do every so often when you come to shul. It should be something, an involvement in your life wherever you're going. I was very impressed that Delegate told me he has downloads classes and he listens when he travels. He listens to classes in order to when he's going, when he's traveling. All that. It's beautiful. We should do that. When we're going, when we're in the car, a lot of times when you're driving in your car, you should put on a shir, put on a class to listen, or if, as you say, or you're on the bus, or you're riding your bike, or whatever it is. There's so much that we're able to learn, and also, look, I just now on the train, I learned with Mendy a little bit of what we're doing. So we should use out the time of what we're doing. That we should use out wherever we're going. One hand to educate, but in addition, we have the point to recognize that Torah should be our prime occupation. Here we also learn there's a mitzvah of saying the Shema when you go to sleep and when you wake up. The mitzvah of reciting Shema in the evening and in the morning. The time we go to sleep and the time we wake up. That means we don't just say it's because I go to sleep in the morning. That means from now I should call Shema the evening. Shema should be in the morning. The time when people go to sleep and time people wake up. So therefore the Shema there's a time limit on when Shema is.
But the Shema in the morning you say after you notel yadayim.
Correct.
After
After you turn on the dime, that's
Yeah.
that's
Alright.
correct. That is correct. After you wash your hands and you prepare, you wash out your mouth. You wash your hands in order to purify your hands. You wash out your mouth, so your mouth is not just from the saliva that was during the sleep. And also, ideally, we should also change our clothing. They should be proper. That
So you change your clothing after you notel yadayim?
after you Nutella.
And after you say the bless, or first you change clothes and then you say the bless?
Ideally, first you shouldn't do it in your pajamas.
You shouldn't.
Not the blessing. We say on Tilat Yadayim. You're asking
Yeah, and titilat yadayim.
on Tilat Yadayim. So what we do, so I would say is what I'm saying I do and most people do is I have the Tilat Yadayim I do right when I get up. I actually have something by my bed. I don't make a blessing then. I say Moda Ani. I wash my hands in Tilat Yadayim. Then afterwards I
Change your clothes.
change my clothes, wash out my mouth, wash my face, as preparing myself, and then I go down and wash in the Tilat Yadayim once more.
You do again a titilat
You go. You
yadayim.
also go. I go to the. I'm saying you go. You make sure you go again to Tilat Yadayim, wash your hands, wash your face, and then you Tilat Yadayim. Also make sure to use the toilet in between, and then you say the bracha. Then I'll say the bracha
After you go to the toilet or before you go to the toilet?
after.
Okay, so first Natila when you get to wake up with no blessing, after you say Modani, and then you dress, prepare, you get ready, and then you say again Natila,
And Natila.
like you did first.
Like you did the first time.
And with the
blessing.
bracha.
And then you make with the
With the
bracha.
bracha, yeah.
Then we make with the blessing. Then we make with the blessing. So therefore, you're in a proper state in order to mention Hashem's name, God's name.
Thank you.
And then you say the morning blessings, and then the Shema, and then the Shema,
Thank you.
and then the Shema. So that's another aspect of what this mitzvah is. But what we're saying is that the mitzvah is the education. That a mitzvah is to educate. Now, it says, the Gemara tells us that originally, if not for Rav Chia, Shua ben Gamla, if not for Rabbi Shua ben Gamla, Torah would have been forgotten among the Jewish people. Now, why? Because originally, whoever had a father, the father would make sure that the children were educated. I would say is the mothers are the ones who really are the ones who give over the main educating point of creating the environment, what it's there. In regards to learning Torah, a lot of times learning the Hebrew or learning the mitzvot, a lot of times that would be more meaning the father's role.
לכבד אב וירא מאמא?
Both of them, we say that both of them. The reason why the Torah switches it is because we will have to do kibud and yira will have to be equally by the parents.
For both the same.
For both the same. Both the same. That's why the Torah uses twice, changes the order of the because in order to show us that it's all equal. But in regards to the education, that would be more meaning that would fall on the father's shoulders. So it used to be when there was whoever had a father, the father would educate them. What happens if you didn't have a father? So then it says, "U'v'limatem oisam." You should limatem. It says if you look at the word it says, look at the word otam, right? Look at in verse 19. The word otam with a cholam, right? How should it say if it's a real with is a cholam? Look at verse 19. Yutet. Look in Hebrew.
Oh yeah. I got it.
Limatem otam, right?
Yeah.
It's
Notan lechem?
5 lines from the top.
Not notan lechem.
This is
Ah.
Otam.
Otam.
Yeah, Vilumatem otam. right? And he should educate them, right? But the word otam, if he wants to say with a cholam, should actually have a proper cholam means a line. There should be a line. There should be a vav.
Vav. This
A
is
line.
cholam chaser. It's called
This is cholam chaser, right? Oh, we have our expert here. Cholam chaser. Cholam
That's how
chaser,
it's called.
right?
Cholam chaser, okay.
So, which means that it's the way you know it's a cholam is from a small dot, right? And if you write in the nekudot, you write the vowels, it's from a small dot.
Without nekudot, we call atem, you.
Oh, we says if out in the nekudot it could be read as atem. Why does our Gemara tells us? Why does our say? Why did the Torah write it in such a way? Of the word otam, instead of writing with a vav, and it writes it in the word aleph taf mem, is to tell us that v'limatem atem. That if your parents don't educate you, don't say, haha, I can't do anything more, that's it. No. V'limatem atem, you yourselves should educate yourselves. You yourselves have the responsibility to learn. Make sure that you know and you learn the Torah, you're connected. Don't what's it called? Don't give it up. Recognize that you have a special connection that you are able to have. That's what the Torah tells us specifically.
Beautiful.
Using-
Atem. It's beautiful.
Yeah, specifically use those words. Yeah, thank you. So that's what they would do. Then the people would educate themselves. It says then in Yerushalayim they opened up a Shulchan Gamla. They opened up a yeshiva. They opened up a place where they opened up a place where they educated children to whoever wanted to come learn. Where do they come from that idea? It says Mitzion Teitz Torah. Tzion is
Israel.
not
Israel.
is it Yerushalayim.
Tzion. Okay.
Tzion is one of the names of Yerushalayim.
Zion, Zion.
Zion is Yerushalayim.
But today the Bnei Israel this day. Okay, with that, but this day.
They where did they get the idea from? Because when everyone they wanted to go back to Tzion, we always we're doing Yerushalayim. That's where the whole idea. That's the whole concept they've used that term come from.
Started from there. Yeah.
Starts from there. Ki mitzion teitza Torah, because from Tzion Torah should come forth. So he says this needs to be Yerushalayim should be a bastion for Torah. So they established a yeshiva. But what happened? The people who had parents who brought them there learned. The people who didn't have people to bring them to Yerushalayim didn't. So what happened? They put in each area, general area, pelech v'pelech. In each area, they established a yeshiva for that area, in order to make sure that people got to become educated. Now, the problem was, that area, people would send their children to learn. What age can you already send your child to learn that they're age that you're not babysitting them? You're educated. They need to be educated. They're able to take care of themselves. That was around 16 and 17. So only at that age were everyone able to go and learn. And not only that, the Gemara tells us, those who were willing to throw themselves into it, that was good. But for those who weren't necessarily being the best students, the teachers were very, very strict and were very what's-it-called upon them, and they went away. So what did Rabbi Shimon Gamla do? He said that Rabbi Shimon Gamla made that he recognized this was an issue, that people weren't learning properly. You only had a unique, select few that were learning. And he recognized that you're already dealing with children who didn't have the discipline, they didn't grow up with the discipline of learning. You're already you're molding someone, you're working with someone if they're already at the age of 16, 17. Karmit has a teenager. She knows what it's like to deal with a teenager and to get them to start and to learn. It's not easy. It's not easy. So she says that it was difficult. So what did he say? He made sure that in every town you had a place to learn. And they started with children who were already 6 and 7. So what he established was that there should be a place that they have a school for children to learn already at a young age Torah. And he made sure it wasn't just in these different special places. Every small town and what's it called should make sure that they had a place to learn Torah. And that's why we say, if not for him, Torah would have been forgotten. He brought a renaissance of learning Torah, even children at a very, very young age. Even children at even children already 6 and 7, already going to make sure you have to learn. And from here, the whole idea of chadarim, the concept of schools came from. Places where parents and their children in every town, parents and the children to go learn, to make sure they learn Torah from a young age. Not only that, we say is, if you look at look at Rashi. If you look at the Rashi in Pasuk Yutet, Rashi in Pasuk Yutet. So if you look at it's in the Rashi, there's 2 paragraphs. It's the right paragraph, 2 lines from the bottom.
Okay.
So it's on page 1122.
Mm-hmm.
The Rashi, the right paragraph, 2 lines to the bottom. Yeah, you got it? From Ledaber Bam?
Okay.
Yeah?
Got it.
We say Dekel. Why don't you read it?
I don't know.
לדבר פעם.
Ledaber Bam.
1, 2, 3.
דקל עמוד 122.
found it. So, לדבר בם, משעה שהבן יודע לדבר, למדהו. תורה ציווה לנו משה, שיהיה זה לימוד דיבורו. מכאן אמרו, כשהתינוק מתחיל לדבר, אביו משיח עמו בלשון הקודש ומלמדו תורה. ואם לא עשה כן, הרי הוא כאילו קוברו, שנאמר, ולימדתם אותם את בניכם לדבר בם. וגו.
Oh, so which means that we have, when we ever learn that as soon as the children begins to learn, education doesn't just start from when they even went 6 and 7. As soon as the children are able to speak, we should already teach them, first of all, a verse of Torah. We should already teach them how to speak Lashon HaKodesh. We should already teach them how to start off and how to have that to be able to read. We should already have that because it's already starts at a very young age. It's the precious. That's where you're making the greatest impressions on the children. You have the greatest effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that the Yeshua ben Gamla, about the effect he made, that he was able to truly make a renaissance of Jewish education, and he really saw the vital point of making sure that the education was in every single person. How vital and important that was, and so much so that if not for him, though people were learning,
Wow.
though people were but it's specifically because he started the education of children at a young age. You say that's what saved Torah from not being forgotten. That's what saved Torah from not being forgotten. Now I think it's an important aspect to say that a lot of times we think to ourselves, what if we only had the ability to learn Torah when we're older? We don't have the ability to learn Torah when we're younger, for whatever the reason. When a child is younger, it's much easier to learn Torah. When a person is older, It's harder.
But it's possible because I can see my sister's son, my nephew. He is soldier now, and he is becoming closer and closer, and he doesn't come. יש מסורת, they're not they do kiddush but he come in wear big kippah on the head, and he's put tefillin every day, and he's studying more and more by himself. No one told him to do that.
Amazing,
He does it by
amazing,
himself.
amazing,
Also with
beautiful.
big kippah, like, almost like Chaim. He's walking like this, almost this side.
Chaim is the epitome. Everyone else is almost like Chaim.
No, it's slightly smaller. Chaim is the...
No, but I agree with you. I agree with what you're
It's
saying.
possible to do it later. I know, ideally it's when they're young, but it is possible to do it later.
Yeah, but I think like this. Okay, there's also like an idea for me that when you teach a child, a child takes it in without questioning. Therefore, there's a side of it. I don't want to sound like I'm saying it in a negative way, but there's also that side of like the indoctrination, the not questioning, the etc. etc. So obviously a child is much more open to taking on different ideas. We're sponges when we're obviously, when we're kids. Whereas I know that there's also kind of like there's also a point that even if the child doesn't understand, do it and you will understand. That also comes from down, and that's who said that? It was Moshe. Do it and you will understand. Don't worry about it. Was it Moshe who said when the Jewish people said?
Nasa v'nishma. First we'll do it and then we'll understand.
That's it. So there is that idea for a kid to, in a child's world, yes, okay, they'll do it and then they'll understand. But as an adult, I'm saying for myself, there is that side as well that you suddenly, if you're open enough, or and you're ready to take all this on, you do question. Maybe you do suddenly go, I said via Voke, I'm saying myself, via Voke said it every Shabbos growing up.
What's it by Boker?
A kiddush for
Yeah,
Shabbos.
yeah.
So we said, okay, I said it quite, okay, as a child, my father would say, okay, please, you do it, or whatever. But we said it a lot. But my point is, say it so much as I never knew what I was saying.
Yeah, you said
Honestly,
you didn't understand. Yeah,
I got to being a teenager, I said, hang on a second, you make me say,
yeah.
it's like a bar mitzvah, how many of
Right.
us can stand up and say, I got up, I
Yeah,
did my
no.
bar mitzvah, ask me what my portion means or what my...
Yeah,
I've got no
you-
idea, I can't tell you, I don't
just
even
read it
know.
because you need to
Just
read
because
it,
someone's
yeah.
telling me this. So there's two sides to it. There's that idea of like teaching the kid, do it and you will understand. You'll get it. Even if one day you suddenly start questioning everything and you're going, hang on a second, what is all this? And maybe I need to... Even if you go down that... But as an adult, there is that other side of it, like I'm saying.
Yeah,
you
you
come
really
back to it and you
understand,
go, wow, I really want to know what is fire there.
That's why you're here, Chaim. That's why we're here.
That's why I'm here. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, I know, you saying certain words that suddenly we go, hang on a second, wow. There's a few meanings just in that word. Just the aleph means something.
Right.
The hey, like last week.
So this is interesting.
Anyway, so yeah, the both sides of...
So I think you're touching upon a tremendous point. That there are advantages that children have over adults in learning, and there are advantages adults have over children.
Absolutely.
The Mishnah tells us how loimed teira yeled lemahu doime nar ksuva nar chadash. Because whoever learns Torah, whoever halomed Torah yeled lemahu dome linyar ktuva. I'm sorry, lidyo ktuva al na anyar chadash.
Ah, okay.
Halomed Torah zaken lemahu dome lidyo ktuva arnar machok.
Al niyar machu.
Because whoever learns Torah as a child is as if you write down on a new piece of parchment. But as a Torah, if you learn Torah when you're older, it's as if you write down on a worn out piece of parchment. The difference between a writing on a new piece of parchment and a worn out piece of parchment is when you write on a new piece of parchment, the ink gets absorbed well and also stays for a long time. Whereas a worn out piece of parchment, is something that is easier to be easier to erase. It doesn't get absorbed as well. It doesn't stay so. It doesn't stay as.
However, the word machuk is something else. It's not machuk is like it was written, then you just
And then
rub
erase
out.
it. And then you erase it. Erase it. Right? And what's it? Saying that's what I meant. Like you use it before you erase. Yeah. So on one hand, you could say that it's great if you learned when you're young, but what if you're learning when you're older? What's the point? What's the Mishnah trying to tell me? So the Rebbe says a beautiful point, a real powerful point, that the Mishnah is not telling us when it says Yeled and Zaken, is not saying how old it says on your passport or your birth certificate, but rather it's an approach of learning.
Amazing.
The approach of learning as a Yeled is something the point of Chaim mentioned. Yeah, a child is someone is open and is willing to accept and bring in anything that's being said. And the first point, in order for you to have the Torah to truly be part of you, truly come into you, you have to have that point of Kabbalah, being welcoming and open, and not have preconceived ideas or notions, and bring everything into what the Torah tells us.
This is how
completely open.
So right, and then we learn a new language. That's why I insisted to speak, for example, with Braden, Hebrew since he was born, because it's like an open window. Up to the age of 10, they take it so easily. From 10, 12, they can obviously still learn it, but it's like adult learning. It's harder, it's more difficult. They have other opinions, they have other information. Exactly like with Torah.
Exactly.
But when they're young, perfect.
So on one hand, a child, you could learn as a child does like a child. Yeah. You could also learn, and as an adult, to learn like a child. It's an approach of learning. It's an approach of being open, of have the ability of being completely accepting to whatever is being said. And when we learn that, you are able to then, once you fully took that in, you had that bittul, you had the nullification, willing to accept that, then you analyze it, and then you think about it, and then you begin to think of how that works. But you have to have that first point of learning, the idea of learning Torah as a child. So I think the first point aspect of is, as I was trying to say, is on one hand we not all of us had the ability to learn right from the moment we were born, or we were able to speak Torah Tzivalanu Moshe Moshe Kilat Yaakov. Could be not everyone had the ability to be able to say that right then, but we still say even now, if we begin to learn and we have the openness and what's good to learn Torah as a child, approach. Take that approach, an initial approach, and then once that, you're also able to. There's a lot more to analyze and a lot to learn. So that's one aspect. One aspect of the idea of education. We have another aspect is, and I know I'm going over the time today a little bit. So I'll finish off. We didn't have as much time. And we said there was the Torah. The Gemara tells us that there was a sage called Reb Chia. Reb Chia was also, the Gemara says, because of him, because of what he did, he made sure the Torah should not be forgotten among the Jewish people. So much so that he was one time having an argument between a sage with another one of the sages. The other sage says, "You're arguing with me, because if the Torah would be forgotten, even from one of my pilpulim, one of my thoughts and analysis, they would be able to learn the Torah once again." So he says, Rabbi Chia answered him, he says, "How are you arguing with me, who I make sure the Torah should never be forgotten to have to reach to that stage?" Now, what did he do? He says he would go, he himself went, and he would go and make netting. He would tie nets, catch deer, slaughter it, and take the meat and bring that to poor people. Take their skins and make cloth and make parchment out of it. On the cloth, he wrote the 5 different books of the Chumash, 5 books of the Torah, and also the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. 5 books of the Torah, but the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah we said that orally. That that he wrote of the. What's the thing? Was it after Rabbi Yehuda? Could be it was after Rabbi Yehuda. So it could be he wrote also the Shishis of the Mishnah. Possible he also wrote it as well. With the 6 tractates of the Mishnah, which was the oral tradition. It makes sense because Rabbi Chia came later. So probably also wrote that as well. He would go to a town and he would take 6 kids. He would teach each of them one book.
Okay.
He would teach each of them one book and one part of the Mishnah. And he would tell them, I want you to educate each other and make sure that everyone knows when I come back, everyone should be fluent with everyone, all the kids in the town should be fluent with these things. And he would go from place to place doing that, and because of him, there was a renaissance of learning that people knew. And it's tremendous. Now, it shows, first of all, there's a few aspects of it in the short period of time we have. On one hand, point number one, that how much we have to make sure to teach. Secondly is, we don't need to know everything to teach. Sometimes we think you need to know the whole Siddur Mishnah, have all the Chumash in order to be able to teach. No. You know one book, teach one book. You know Aleph, teach Aleph. You know what's called? Make sure to teach. It's important to spread the Torah that we know to spread, to know, be able to give over. Another aspect is there are times that we have to, and I meant to delve in a deeper and more on a practical level. There are times that we delegate to other people to do things. There are times we have to do things ourselves. When it comes to Rabbi Chia, could have delegated teaching. He was important to teach the children. But in regards to making the parchment and writing them, he could have delegated that.
But the parchment all made of leather, skin,
animals.
Deer or cow or
It could be anything
sheep.
a kosher animal, from any kosher animal. It could. So why didn't he? Because he wanted to show the example of how important this act was, and therefore he went and therefore he did it himself. So there are certain times when we have to. It's important for us to show an example of things. We should do certain things ourselves. We also have to recognize that we have to give over. Chia also gave over to the children. He recognized he can't teach everyone, right? He gave it over for the children, and recognize that we have to be able to give over to encourage others to teach. Because also when we teach and we encourage others to teach, then you know what happens. The things that you know the best are the things that you teach. Think about it. And it's so much more. It says one of the ways the Mishnah tells us the best way to learn is Loimen amanas lilamid, to learn in order to teach, because that is one of the what's it called? Now it says also to act, not just to teach, but also to act on it. He says that's one way, because when we learn it, that's the best way for us to learn. So we should be able to, should all make sure we learn, all educate. When whatever we know, we should try to give over. Recognize it's important. It's the responsibility of every single one of us. Do all we can, especially we live in an area which is more distant, as we started off our conversation in the beginning, more distant from everything, to make sure that everyone is educated in the community. Everyone should have the ability to feel how they're connected to the Torah. It's a part of them. And through that, through also our learning, was every aspect. We should be all learn, turning wherever we go, we should bring Mashiach to the kingdom. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.